Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Pastor Mike, good evening. It's 5:30. This is Update for Tuesday, 13th of June, 2023 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes to look at the latest news on the island, background to that news and sport and business, and Sea Watch and travel updates and the newsmakers in person. This evening, DEFA wants Ramsey Beach preserved for nesting birds and wildlife. Marown Commissioners failed to comply with a sex education FOI. Is it true primary school children are vaping? Today's the hottest day of the year, and Special Olympics Isle of Man head off to Berlin this Saturday.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. Faster My Christian Jones.
Faster My. A complaint has been upheld against Marown Commissioners for failing to comply with a Freedom of Information request regarding sex education. The Commissioners initially refused, stating there had been no correspondence about that topic, but after an investigation, it was found the authority failed at the most basic level to comply. The Education Minister is due to be meeting key providers and University College Isle of Man in an attempt to manage the potential fallout caused by the closure of I'll Learn. Students at the Specialist Institute say they fear they could be forced to consider career changes after their ability to progress their prospects feels limited. And 2 Isle of Man squads contesting basketball at this year's Island Games have been confirmed. 12 players make up the men's squad and 10 have been named in the women's team for the tournament in Guernsey, which gets underway early next month. In international news, the University of Nottingham says 2 of the 3 people killed in the city centre this morning were students there. A 31-year-old man's been arrested. Police say they're keeping an open mind about the motive for the killings. At least 100 people have been killed after a boat capsized in northern Nigeria. The victims, some of them children, were returning from an overnight wedding ceremony. And in football, France forwards Kylian Mbappe says reports he wants to join Real Madrid this summer are lies. He insists he wants to continue playing for Paris Saint-Germain next season. Those are the Update News headlines. Next at 6.
Man Benham. Contact us by phone, video call, email or face-to-face. We're happy to connect with you. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Jeremiah, thank you, Christian, from the Ronaldsway Met Office. No wind warning in operation for the North Irish Sea. State of sea smooth or slight. And this evening, dry with some late sunshine. Lovely evening, a light to moderate east-northeasterly. Overnight minimum 15 Celsius. And for Crane, dry and sunny tomorrow. Daylight maximum 22 down to 15 through the night. Into Jardine, which will be dry and sunny, and 23 degrees. Tides on the way back in. High waters at 5 to 9 tonight. Sunset 8 minutes before 10. Low water overnight is at 8 minutes past 3, and sunrise at 4:45.
Visit the Manx Glass and Glazing website and see a range of products from windows to doors, mirrors to splashbacks. manxglass.com.
After a complaint about Ramsey Beach, the Commissioners say DEFA want to keep it preserved for nesting birds and other marine wildlife. Joe McGuinness of the Commissioners says they're only responsible for the upkeep of the beach.
As far as I'm aware, Ramsey Commissioners have responsibility for the upkeep of the beach. Obviously, all shorelines are owned by the government. The DOI have the ultimate responsibility, but the management, as far as I'm aware, is under Ramsey Commissioners' sort of control, as it were. So, I mean, as far as I'm aware with regards to the beach, and I know Mr Young has spoken at the last board meeting regarding this, and there is his concern is that there's a lot of detritus, there's stones and there's seaweed on the beach that makes it less appealing than it could be. I know DEFA have the view that it is an area that needs to be preserved for nesting birds and other wildlife. That is I mean, it's beyond my skill set, but that is, as far as I'm aware, the facts of the matter.
A complaint's been upheld against Marown Commissioners for failing to comply with a Freedom of Information request regarding sex education. The Relationships and Sexual Education Advisory Curriculum is currently paused on the Isle of Man, following in part concerns raised by the parish commissioners earlier this year over the content involved. The story from Lewis Foster.
At the time, it was reported parents of pupils at QE2 High School in Peel had shared concerns with members of Marown Commissioners at a public meeting. The FOI in question asked the authority to provide copies of all correspondence, email and letter to and from the commissioners and staff making reference to relationships and sex education in both the broad curriculum and specific teaching. The commissioners refused to give the information requested, stating there has been no correspondence, and after further communication from the FOI applicant said simply there is nothing. After an investigation, however, the Information Commissioner says the authority failed at the most basic level to comply with its obligations under the Freedom of Information Act and the Code of Practice. It finds they failed to undertake any searches whatsoever for the information requested and failed to give the applicant a proper refusal notice. Marown Parish Commissioners have been asked to now undertake searches of its associated email accounts and letters, record full details of those searches and provide the applicant with a copy of any information to which the request relates. The authority has 28 days to appeal the decision notice. Manx Radio has contacted Marown Commissioners for comment.
The Isle of Man in 30 minutes. Update on Manx Radio with Andy Wint.
Just an update on the Post. Further to not receiving an inbound flight this morning, Isle of Man Post's aircraft providers confirm they're unable to provide an aircraft to dispatch mail this evening. Mail will be collected as normal and dispatched as soon as possible. The time guarantees on Special Delivery and Parcel Force 24 have been suspended. Manx to Manx and Sea Mail are unaffected. Special Olympics Isle of Man have begun their journey to take part in the prestigious World Summer Games being held in Berlin from Saturday for 1 week. 18 Manx athletes will compete across 7 different sports. Jules Watterson's son Duncan's one of those involved. She explains how everyone's feeling about competing in this major event.
They're very excited. They've been building up to this for, well, probably since their last European Games, which were in Malta, and with their training, and they just get so excited about it. The experience and the friendships they're going to meet, sort of some of them will be friends now for a long time, and of course with Facebook and other media sites they keep up to date with that, and it's the anticipation, it's the worry, it's oh my gosh, am I going to do well, am I not? No, they really enjoyed it. It's such an experience for them to go to any games, but the World Games is fantastic. Yes, they do. They really enjoy it. The main aim is for them to enjoy the experience. Obviously, there are quite a few this time in the team that have already been to World Games. My son has been to 4 World Games. There's others there that have been to 4 and possibly maybe even 5, some of them. The majority of the team this time have been to games, European Games and that. And I think for a lot of them, it's the taking part. Yes, they like to win the medals, but it's the taking part. And with all the World Games, if they don't get the bronze, silver or gold world medal, they come back with they have a finisher's medal, which may be 4th, 5th and 6th, and they're all different colours. And their faces when they come off the plane, or this time they're coming back on the boat, just to get that medal is fantastic. And everyone is treated exactly the same. It doesn't matter whether they've come 7th or have a goal. The whole team atmosphere, they praise each other. You know, it's a big team spirit this time.
On the day that the House of Keys members voted to fast-track a bill on regulating vapes, Man in Line was at Castle Rushen High School asking students about vapes and the use of e-cigarettes. So what's the reason? What's the attraction? And one student said he wasn't surprised if primary school children were using vapes.
It's obviously grown a lot after COVID, which is understandable. There's so much stress that I think we don't see because all of us are kind of just outside of the COVID generation, and you're watching all these kids get really stressed out all the time, and then nicotine's a really easy way to get past that, but at the same time it's cool. It's like it's smoking in the 70s, you know. It was cool, it was edgy, it was all of this, and it's just happening again.
If you look at the actual vapes that people can get, they're very colourful. They come in pretty boxes. They look a lot like sweets, and they smell a lot like sweets. They're so sweet that you know when somebody's been vaping in the toilets or wherever. One of the main draws to them is they look so much like sweets and sweet things that people just instinctually go to them. They're sort of nice things that they used to like, so now they like them as well.
Lola's saying it's cool to vape. Is that true?
Well, I wouldn't say so, but
I mean, do you think people perceive vaping as cool if they see? Is it subject to peer pressure?
I think there's definitely an aspect of peer pressure to it, but I think it's just sort of the done thing for quite a few people. Their friends are all doing it, so why not?
Well, it definitely does seem to have gotten more common over the past couple of years, and especially it seems to be a lot more popular among people in year 7 and year 8. That's about 11, 12, yeah.
11-year-olds are vaping?
Definitely, yeah. Probably. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's people in primary schools doing it as well.
Sea-Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
Motorship Ben McCree departed Heysham at 27 minutes to 4, in at about 7:15 tonight because the Arrow, the cargo boat, is still on the berth. She'll be departing Douglas at 9 o'clock this evening, heading for Heysham, getting there at about 1:45 a.m. Still leaving at 2:15 back to Douglas for 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. The high-speed craft Manannan left Liverpool at 2 minutes before 2. She's safely on the link span now. We'll be leaving Douglas this evening at 6 o'clock, getting to Liverpool about 9 o'clock, departing Liverpool at 9:30, back to Douglas at 30:30. And tomorrow morning's departures, Ben McCree departs Douglas at 8:45 for Heysham. Manannan departs Douglas at 10 o'clock for Liverpool.
Follow the Steam Packet on Twitter for the latest sailing information.
You don't need me to tell you it's hot today, but today is the hottest day of the year so far. The temperatures reached 26 Celsius on the Isle of Man. That's following arguably one of the best TTs in recent years regarding weather. But how long is this good weather likely to last? There's only one person to ask. Senior Met Man at Ronalds Way is Adrian Cowan.
It's hard to recollect the whole period as good as that, really. There were some partly cloudy mornings, but overall we did very well out of the whole situation of not only being dry but also bright or sunny throughout that period.
So for today we're looking at highs, I think, of about 26 Celsius, which by my reckoning the hottest day of the year so far.
Well, that's right, as the area of high pressure is now established, bringing in the warm air, hot air from the continent into the British Isles and the Isle of Man. Strong sunshine as well at this time of year. That's high UV. On the coasts that are affected by fairly light onshore breezes, you'll get some relief from the heat, but you don't have to go too far inland to discover that your temperatures will be lifting to between 23 to 25 and perhaps 26 Celsius in some places by the end of today. But this area of high pressure just starts sliding into the position towards Scandinavia again, which means the continental hot air cuts off a bit. We do stay dry. Temperatures drop by a few degrees as that air starts to be modified and its transition over the North Sea into the British Isles. Then it may slide a little bit further and let in one of those dreaded trough-like features that we call them, coming in from the south or the southwest of the British Isles, and put us at threat of some showery bursts of rain, maybe later in the weekend or as we go through the first few days of next week.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 16 minutes before 6, UK house builder Bellway said it expected lower output and average prices due to a weaker order book and an uncertain interest rate environment. The company said today it maintained guidance that it would deliver full-year volume output of about 11,000 homes, compared with 11,198 in the 2022 fiscal year, with an overall average selling price of around £300,000, down from £314,000 16,399 at the end of July last year. And for a full daily market report, go to RamseyCrookall.com. The new boss of Twitter, Linda Yaccarino, has outlined her plans for Twitter 2.0 after taking over from Elon Musk last week. She says the company is on a mission to become the world's most accurate real-time information source. Since Elon Musk bought Twitter last year, it's faced criticism over its approach to tackling disinformation. In the last month, Twitter lost its head of trust and safety and pulled out of the EU's disinformation code. In a series of tweets, what else, which was also emailed to employees, Linda Yaccarino echoed Mr. Musk's goal of transforming the global town square. She said this would, quote, drive civilization forward through the unfiltered exchange of information and open dialogue about the things that matter most to us.
The Stock Market Report. Brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European stock markets ended the day higher. The dollar fell and oil rose on apparent bargain hunting. Gold edged higher. The numbers now from Ramsey Crookall. At the close in London, the FTSE 100 up 0.33% at 7,594. The DAX in Frankfurt up 0.8% at 16,227. In New York City, the Dow Jones Industrial up 0.5% at 34,228. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index up 0.75% at 13,564. And the good news continues in Chicago. The S&P 500 up 0.7% at 4,369. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling trading at $1 26 cents, €1 16.6 cents, and 23 South African rand 39.4 cents. In commodities, gold's down 0.7% at $1,943 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude up 2 8/10% at $74.09.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future. For a house, or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Pastor Mai, good evening. It's 13 minutes before 6, live from Douglas in the Isle of Man. This is Manx Radio, and this is Update. If you enjoy a stroll down south, there's going to be some closures of footpaths around Ronaldsway Airport you may need to be aware of. All the details from Rhiann Evans.
The runway headland at the airport will be closed over 2 consecutive weekends, Saturday and Sunday on June the 24th and 25th, and July the 1st and 2nd. It's to enable the Isle of Man Coast Guard to do rescue rope training and will be in place between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. each day. The course is going to affect the section of footpath from Cafe Bar 26 to the northern end of the Rock Armour near Turkeylands Quarry. This type of training is required in order to have an update rescue plan for incidents in the area and also to adhere to the airport's licensing requirements. If you need to get in touch with the Coast Guard, you can call 686 628 or 686 612 or email coastguard@gov.im, or in any coastal emergency situation you're asked to dial 999 and ask for the Coast Guard.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates. Manx Radio Sport.
Faster my Rob Pritchard.
Faster my, good evening. The 2 Isle of Man squads to contest basketball at this year's Ireland Games have been confirmed. 12 players make up the men's squad and 10 have been named in the women's team for the tournament in Guernsey, which gets underway early next month. Both squads found out last month who they'll face in the group stages. The men's side are involved in a busy Group A with 4 other nations of Guernsey, Cayman Islands, Falkland Islands and Menorca. Meanwhile, there are 3 teams in the women's Group A, including the Isle of Man. They'll face Guernsey and the Faroe Islands. The 2023 Ireland Games are due to take place from the 8th to the 14th of July. The 2 Isle of Man basketball teams for the Games, as well as the group stage schedule, are available at manxradio.com. In tennis, the second of 3 men's UK Tour Fast 4 tournaments took place on Saturday, being hosted by Douglas Lawn Tennis Club on their 4 artificial clay courts. With a compass draw, the overall winner would be the player who won all 4 matches, and there could be only one. In the final, Sean Drury took on Ron Rupesh, a visitor to the island for the tournament. Sean was too strong for Ron, winning 4-1, 4-1. Ron therefore winning 3 of his 4 matches on the day and finishing runner-up. Also winning 3 of his 4 matches was the winner of the 3rd and 4th place playoff, Joss Wolford, who defeated
defeated Neri Grisavicius in a third-set champions tie-break, Joss therefore only losing his semi-final. And in archery, Manx archer Leslie Slate has secured more medal success, this time in the recent Archery GB 3D Championships. Slate, who's a member of the Isle of Man Archery Club, took part in 2 days of competition near Wincanton in Somerset in the Lady Longbow class. A slow start on the opening day meant Slate was tied in second spot. However, she improved during day 2 to register the highest score of the day to take the silver medal in the category, beaten only by England's Sophie Twigg, who took the gold.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Inbound at Ronald's Way, the 5:10 Loganair from Birmingham came in at 5:30. The 5:25 Loganair from Manchester won't be in until 7:15. 10-8 Loganair from London City's on time. The 5-8 Loganair returning patient transfer from Liverpool is delayed until 9:05. And the inbound from Gatwick, the 8:15, fingers crossed, is on time at the moment. Outbound, the 4:30 Loganair to London City won't be going out till about now. The 6:15 Loganair to Birmingham is delayed till 6:15. The 6 o'clock Loganair to Liverpool delayed until 7:20. Outbound at 8:45 is the EasyJet to London Gatwick, and that's showing on time at the moment. The Mountain Road is open 2 ways now, everything is fine. In Ramsey, temporary 24-hour lights on Cumberland Road for resurfacing. Ballacollister Road in Lax is closed between Croyty Quill Road and Rensall Hill for resurfacing. East Quay Peel closed between the House of Manannan and the road bridge. They're working on the road and pavement. In Dorby, 24-hour lights on the main road. In Derby, the Ballymena Road's got those phase closures. Temporary lights on the Andros Road just south of the village. Should be finished by now, but they may just drag on. Temporary lights on Ballacameen Road in Douglas for resurfacing. Temporary lights on Cool Road near Eden Park, Braddon for resurfacing and line marking. And temporary lights on the TT course at Kirkmichael, just south of Kirkmichael. They're working on a substation there.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre Club Card has over £400 worth of saving for your whole family. Get more with
But just to reiterate, the Mountain Road is open 2 ways. People are being urged, and that's you, to help Isle of Man hedgehogs from ending up in a potentially dangerous situation during this dry weather. The Manx Hedgehog Conservation Society says it's received more than 50 calls for help in the last week. Founder of the organisation, Sandy Heighton.
If they can just leave out a heavy base but a shallow dish, so that obviously we have to be careful, because if juveniles are coming out to drink the water, we don't want them climbing in and not being able to get out. So to accommodate all sizes of hedgehog. So a heavy based container of water, like a Pyrex dish, a ceramic dish, something that's heavy based, so they don't just stand on it and tip it over, because obviously then they've lost the water. And with that, obviously, we had a phone call 3 days ago with a chap who found a hedgehog in a drain, and the only way it survived is it had managed to support its head on the wall of the drain, and it was in a real bad way when we got it. So again, covers on the drains, they're going to go anywhere to search for water, and that can take them into very dangerous situations. Just thinking, when you're mowing the grass, they could be poorly lying in the grass, round about the grass, under the hedges. Yesterday alone, I had 16 calls. So they're coming in very late at night. They're coming in very early in the morning. I had one at 2 a.m. With it being obviously TT, there's been a lot of people out all hours. So it has been extremely busy. In the last week, we must have had well over 50, 55, 60 calls in the last week. As the weather and the weeks are going on and it's getting more and more, dry, then we're just finding, obviously, more hedgehogs are coming out and they're just so weak. In some situations, we've had people phoning us up saying, I've picked up this hedgehog and I've taken it to a better place. We'd not suggest to do that. And also, if it's a female, she could have young waiting for her to come back. So if you do that, then you are actually eradicating a whole nest of hoglets that don't receive mother back. If anybody needs any help or support, we're there on the Facebook. Our number is out. Just get in touch and we'll do everything we can do.
Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300.
It's 6 minutes before 6. If you're on social media, remember to like Manx Radio on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you use Twitter or LinkedIn, follow Manx Radio. The Cabinet Office Minister was asked for an update on the implementation of the Human Tissue and Organ Donation Act 2021 in the House of Keys this morning. Kate Law-Brennan, MHK, said the island has to work closely with the UK's Human Tissue Authority to progress the legislation.
The Human Tissue and Organ Donation Act 2021 sets out to make provision about activities involving human tissue and the donation of human organs, and it was progressed as a private member's bill. Key aspects to implement this Act relate to regulatory aspects and ongoing formalised and necessary support from the UK Human Tissue Authority. Public Health within Cabinet Office will be the regulatory authority on the Isle of Man with respect to this Act once fully implemented. Work has started by Public Health on the practicalities of operationalising the Act, including establishment of a working group and the development of 7 codes of practice to support the Act once implemented. Those codes of practice are specified as being required by the Act. Dialogue has taken place with the UK Human Tissue Authority, HTA, with a view to developing an agreement covering inspection, licensing and the provision of advice and guidance because of the specialist nature of this function and the regulation required. It is not possible to implement this legislation without HTA support, and it is complex, requiring that specialist input. Further work to fully implement the Act will continue, subject to identifying further funding and resource. The action to develop an agreement with the HTA to provide advice and guidance for the implementation of the Human Tissue and Organ Donation Act 2021 is included as an action within the 2023 Cabinet Office Department Plan, which states that this is subject to business case and additional funding approval. Progress has been made, however, on codes of practice, for example, which are required by the legislation.
That's it for Update tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Christian Jones, producer Rhiann Evans, the motor vessel Arrow just departing her berth, heading for Heysham. Just a quick reminder, 3 weeks tomorrow, it's Tynwald Day. 3 weeks this Saturday, the Island Games start. And 2 days after that, it's the Southern 100. It's that time of year. Stick around. After the news at 6, Siobhan Fletcher's here with Pride Part 2, the greatest hits with Chris Kinley at 6:30, and the Manx Radio Folk Show with John Barker at 9. I'll be back tomorrow.
WINT